Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call to order the January 9th, 2017 session of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners, and I'd like to ask the Honorable Joy Padgett, please, to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Joy. I'm Barb Lewis, President, for just a little bit longer. To my right is our Vice President, Jeff Benton, and to my left, Commissioner Gary Merrill, our Clerk, Jennifer Walraven, and our Administrator, Farzan Ahmed. We can begin.
Resolution number 17-01, in the matter of approving the electronic record of proceedings from regular meeting held December 29th, 2016.
So moved. Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 17-01. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-02, in the matter of reorganization of the Board of Commissioners President.
As a member of the board, I propose that we make a motion that for the purpose of reorganization of the Board of Commissioners, President of the Board for the year 2017, I move we appoint Commissioner Jeff Benton.
I'll second that motion. Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 17-02. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, did we switch or just go?
Whatever you want to do.
We go through that every year this happens. We have found you stay where you are this time and move next time.
Yeah, we're
all
doing
right,
it enough
okay.
to not have a pattern.
Oh, okay, okay, all right.
So,
We can,
I have the gavel from this.
You want it?
I don't know.
this is how you do it.
You have to take lessons. Barb was a master.
Yeah.
Okay. On to the next one.
Resolution number 17-03, in the matter of reorganization of the Board of Commissioners Vice President.
I'll move that in the matter of the reorganization of the Board of Commissioners, that as Vice President of the Board of Commissioners for the year 2017, that we appoint Commissioner Gary Merrill.
And I will second that motion. Discussion. That's right.
That's okay. That's all right.
I'll catch it.
Okay.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-03. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-04, resolution to designate the official representative and alternate for the purpose of voting at the annual meeting of the County Commissioners Association of Ohio for 2017.
Discussion.
Oh,
Need to
sorry.
make a motion.
Oh, sorry.
Since I'm the designee, I was hesitating to make the motion.
Oh, so move. I better. That's my problem.
I will second
So
it.
move.
I am not the designee.
Okay.
All right. Now we have discussion, if any.
All right.
And vote.
Vote on motion 17-04. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-05, in the matter of appointment of the board's representative to various boards and commissions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-05. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
We do not have any public comment or elected official comment today, so that brings us to item number 8, resolution number 17-06, in the matter of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners recognizing Carol O'Brien, Delaware County Prosecuting Attorney.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. I will lead it off either we have serious litigation pending because we have a lot of distinguished attorneys in this room, or we have the distinct pleasure of honoring one of our own with a very, very prestigious award, and it's certainly a real pleasure for me, and I'm sure my fellow commissioners and the elected people and Carol and her team for her to receive this very prestigious award. And we do have a proclamation to read.
Right.
I don't know if anybody had any specific comments or anything. Anybody? Chris?
Maybe
Chris
Chris Betts
Chris
would-
was the author of the recommendation letter that was so successful.
If you embarrass me, he has to, right?
That's right.
Oh, he's an attorney. He was just waiting to speak and be called to the podium.
Christopher Batts, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney, Delaware County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. I wasn't really expecting to make a statement this morning, but I'm very excited that Carol was given this award. I nominated her because I thought she was very deserving of the award, and I was very excited about it. I do have to tell kind of a little bit of a funny story about this. Initially, I found out about this on a Friday afternoon. I had written a nomination, and the Erie County prosecutor, Kevin Baxter, gave me a call. I received the call, and he indicated to me that he had had lunch with Carol. He hadn't said anything, but they were calling me to give me the opportunity to let Carol know that she had received this award. I was thrilled. It made my afternoon. So I tried to get a hold of Carol because she wasn't in the office that day. Tried a couple times, didn't get a hold of her. We finally made contact at the end of the day. And so when I called Carol, she said, "Yes, Chris," because she was expecting, something that, calling her at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday afternoon, that maybe it wasn't something very good. And I said that I had nominated her for this award. And she said, "Well, that's great." And she thought that I was just kind of patting myself on the back for having nominated her. And then I said, "And you won." And it got dead silent on the end of the phone. And by the time it registered, which it seemed like it was a couple minutes, but it was really probably a couple seconds, then she was really giddy on the other end of the phone and really excited about it. So that was a lot of fun. That really made my afternoon. And I know Carol was very, very excited about the board, and it's just really outstanding and wonderful that, she was recognized and chosen by her peers. I merely did the nomination, but it was really, fellow prosecutors around the state that really decided to recognize Carol with this award. So that was really very exciting. So I'll let Carol say anything that she wants to about it, but I thought that it was just a great and wonderful recognition for Carol and for Delaware County.
Yeah, thank you, Chris, for the nomination.
Yeah.
Prosecuting Attorney Carol O'Brien.
Carol O'Brien, Prosecuting Attorney, Delaware County, and I am so honored to hold that position. I tell the story that when I was growing up, my family, I decided in 5th grade I was going to be a lawyer. And starting in about 5th grade and 3 days after I made that declaration, my sisters and brothers said, "You're going to be a judge." And I said, "I'm not going to be a judge. Who would run for elected office? Who would do that?" I mean, really, every person who doesn't vote for you is voting against you. And if you lose, it's heartbreaking. And then I find myself an elected official, and that's all I told you so. But it was quite an honor. Really what I need to say is that without Chris's nomination, and frankly, without the work of my entire staff, all the attorneys, the support staff, Nicole, Julie, it wouldn't have happened, because I know my name's on the door, but they do the everyday work, and they do a phenomenal job. And we are known throughout, Delaware County is known throughout the state as a go-to county if something needs to be done. And I couldn't do it all, and I need to thank my staff for allowing me to represent them and to get this honor, because it's really their honor. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I would just like to add, I think we all think Carol does a great job, and I'm very proud to have her receive this award. But there are so many leaders in this county that have received statewide awards. The child support, the EMS, the county engineer. Chris is running the County Engineers Association this year. And I'm sure I'm missing some. I apologize, because we're just really fortunate to have such good leadership across the board in all the elected offices and department heads and so on. So again, I think it's just great that we're able to honor one of our own.
Well, and I know that all of us as commissioners have such great respect for Carol, and we know that in with her counsel that we're always doing the right thing. Your door is always open, and anytime we have a question, we can ask, and the advice we get is always sound. So thank you so much to everybody, and to the whole staff too.
The whole team.
Yes, the whole.
Here I am going last again, so you're being redundant, or you just say, no? I've had opportunity to know Carol for about 5-6 years, really, since I started the process of looking into the possibility of being commissioner one day, and I agree, everything is just, the advice is always good. You have a little humor to you as well. I think that adds a lot to it. You're able to take the law, and you also can make, you add a little spirit to it and make it not just so dry, and I think that's a positive. It's, you add something to the process that we all have to take very seriously. And to comment, I also heard, it sounds a little self-serving since the bulk of, they are all Republicans, but we really have some really good elected officials in this county that really do the best they can to serve this county, and it's something that I think is what part of the success of this county has been a result of people like Carol and Chris Bosterman, which has been mentioned, and George Keitz. Just go down the list. People that take their job very, very seriously for the benefit of all the residents of our county. And thank you, Carol, and frankly, thank all the elected officials who serve. So, are you going to read that?
I would be very glad to read the proclamation. I didn't know if anybody else had any specific comments, but we'll go ahead and read the proclamation. Whereas the Ohio Prosecuting Attorneys Association named Carol O'Brien, Delaware County Prosecuting Attorney, Ohio's outstanding prosecuting attorney for 2016, and whereas Carol O'Brien has more than 33 years trial experience, and whereas Carol O'Brien began her service as Delaware County Prosecutor in 2011, and whereas during her years of service, Carol has been a dedicated advocate for justice for individuals and families, both in Delaware County and in the state of Ohio, and whereas Carol O'Brien has been recently appointed by Governor Kasich to the Ohio Organized Crime Investigation Commission. Therefore, the Board of Commissioners of Delaware County wishes to express its sincere appreciation for the contributions made by Carol O'Brien to Delaware County and congratulates her on being named as Ohio's outstanding prosecuting attorney for 2016.
All right. Yay. Jane, did you?
I'm guessing Jane wants pictures.
Pictures.
No, we need to vote. We need to vote.
Oh, we
that's
do.
right.
Thank you.
Vote on motion 17-06. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Very good.
Yeah.
Let's do a picture.
All right. No, I'll move forward.
All right. Everybody look over here in 3, 2, 1. Another one in 3, 2, 1. Whoop. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Since Chris nominated you, ought to be a photo of Chris.
Yes, yes.
Very good. Thank you.
All right. Again over here in 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Well, that was fun.
That was
The next item on our agenda, number 9, is Detective Jason Campbell with the Delaware County Sheriff's Office is going to discuss the Human Trafficking Task Force and the efforts to identify, investigate, and stop human trafficking in Delaware County.
Good morning.
good morning.
Let's see here. So, my name is Jason Campbell. I'm a detective with the Delaware County Sheriff's Office. My primary roles and responsibilities with the Sheriff's Office to investigate special investigations includes physical, sexual abuse of children, the child exploitation, child pornography cases, but as well human trafficking. I'm a part of the Central Ohio Human Trafficking Task Force, and I've worked with them for a few years now. It was a subject matter that I wasn't familiar with initially becoming a detective, but as I have spent more years in investigation, especially in dealing with the child sexual abuse and exploitation cases, it's become apparent that human trafficking is real. It is an issue that not only affects the nation, Ohio, as well as Delaware County. Although the majority of my time is spent working and handling cases that deal with child abuse or child exploitation, doesn't mean that the human trafficking aspect is any less important. So I just want to talk actually a few minutes. January being Human Trafficking Awareness Month, I want to take a few minutes and just make everybody aware about human trafficking and really what that is. I pulled together some information and just briefly, specifically about domestic sex trafficking, because there are a few different human trafficking aspects with labor as well as sex, but more than 90% of it is domestic sex trafficking that we deal with in Ohio. So specifically, what is human trafficking? Human trafficking it deals with anyone who knowingly recruits, lures, entices, isolates, harbors, transports, provides, obtains, and maintains another person, knowing that the person will be subjected to involuntary servitude, which would be the labor trafficking portion, or to be compelled to engage in sexual activity. You don't have to prove any type of compulsion for anybody under the age of 16. And then also there's other factors that deal if there's a person with developmental disabilities, as well as anybody who's like 16, 17 years old, you would be trafficking is if you're in a position of authority. There's other related offenses to human trafficking, such as compelling prostitution, promoting prostitution, purchasing sex from a person with developmental disability, purchasing sex from a minor, and then other child pornography-related incidents or offenses. So why is there sex trafficking, and why is this a problem? A large majority of it is money. And according to the Polaris Project, which is the leading organization that battles human trafficking worldwide, that's based out of Washington, they say that human trafficking is considered the second largest and fastest growing crime worldwide. Like other trafficking trades like drugs, there's a demand for the product. Local gangs are now getting increasingly involved. Central Ohio does have a large disposal of income towards this area, and with money plus the demand, that equals a lucrative criminal enterprise. Who's targeted and what influences them? It's reported that approximately 18,000 to 20,000 reports per year just in Ohio are related to missing children incidents. More than 1,000 Ohio children are estimated to be trafficked every year in the sex trade, while an additional 3,000 more Ohio children are at risk of becoming victims. Homeless, runaway, throwaway youths, they equal about a third that are lured into prostitution and offered money. And of those, within 48 hours, they are recruited or requested to engage in this type of activity. The average age of these youths is actually 13 years old when they're recruited. There's over 500,000 children currently in the U.S. that reside in some form of foster care that would be tied to the homeless, runaway, or throwaways. So who's at risk? 91% of the girls who are trafficked were found to have experienced some type of child abuse, whether it be neglect, physical abuse, sexual abuse. Low self-esteem contributed to factors related to those found to be human trafficked. Troubled homes or foster children, runaways, mentally disabled, no positive role models in their lives. So how were they recruited? Victims were recruited by other girls, women, younger males, even older males. There's no set type. Those who are vulnerable was certainly a precursor to the recruitment. And many girls were runaways at the time of their recruitment. Different ways that they are recruited, a lot of times it can be contacted by modeling or talent agencies. solicitation by other family members, friends, acquaintances, or peers, even abductions and kidnappings, and then blackmail, extortion. And I've actually seen personally in my cases an increase in the blackmail, extortion portion with regard to online activities, social media, and sextortion, where people will obtain information or material that would be embarrassing and then use that information to get more and more from that victim. Trafficking and pimp tactics. One of the potential victims, or once the potential victims are zeroed in, the trafficker or the pimp must gain control of that person, gain their compliance and their trust. The trust can be achieved by courtship or grooming techniques, which often occurs as well in sexual abuse cases. Once that trust is gained, they isolate the victims from the people who they trust and they love, the family, their friends, teachers, anybody who would, that victim would go to and rely on. Then there's a transition period where they move from a grooming or a courtship to displaying acts of love and affection combined with episodes of anger. They restrict the movement, physical and psychological control of that person. Traffickers and pimps actually advertise online, Backpage, Craigslist. They use text messaging to preferred clients they used in the past, as well as social media, dating and chat lines, fake talent agencies. Red flags that we've seen nationally that they've comprised, again, knowing that 91% experience some type of child abuse at home. We've seen easy references to sexual situations beyond the specific norms of their age-appropriate type. They use criminal sexual terminology like trick, John, client, wifey, daddy, things that are key indicators that we would look for. STIs, sexting, physical injuries like burns and broken bones, multiple cell phones and condoms, excessive amounts of cash, hotel room keys, prepaid cards. There's depression and fearful behavior, tattooing and branding, and inappropriately dressed and changes outfits at school or at friends' house. They talk about frequent traveling. They have older boyfriends they call daddy or peer. And then they also have expensive clothing and jewelry that they're supplied and given as rewards or payment. So one of the ways that we're able to recognize the victims of human trafficking is by communicating with the victims, primarily. But there's barriers to that. There's barriers to identify who are potential victims. A lot of times they're unaware of what's being done to them. They don't see themselves as a victim, and they often blame themselves for their own situation, putting themselves in that situation. There's Stockholm Syndrome, where they develop loyalties and positive feelings towards their traffickers as a coping mechanism. When we're able to successfully identify a victim of human trafficking, there's a lot of needs for that person, as a lot of the basic things that they've had taken away are needed. There's safety plans and shelter and housing that they need. There's very basic needs of just additional clothing and food. They have to leave their situation abruptly a lot of times. Preliminary understanding of their rights as a victim.